Hey, what's up, everyone? Welcome to another episode of Real Estate Moguls. I'm Findlay-Shirras, and today we have the pleasure of talking with a social media expert who's been in the industry for a long time, so we have lots to learn from Marci James. She has a specialization in marketing, right now is the brand ambassador and director of social outreach for Realtor.com. And before that was VP of marketing at OBO. Is that how you pronounce it? OBO? The largest virtual tour and photography provider in the U.S. And before that was a director of marketing at Better Homes and Gardens, real estate. And then before that, marketing at Berkshire Hathaways. So you've been living and breathing marketing for so long. But why don't you give us an overview of some of the marketing strategies that right now you're deploying at Realtor.com?
Well, we're pretty focused on social media as the director of social outreach. So that's my role. We cover all of our B2B social media channels. So all of our product channels and then our main Realtor Pro channels, which are just to face the industry in general. So some of the tactics we're using, we're really trying to personalize our brand in a very big way. And social media is a real help with that because we're able to reach and talk to people on a one-to-one basis. So it's one of the few marketing platforms that you're actually able to do that. So what we've done this year as part of our personalization goal is to all of my reps now when they post on or when they respond on social, they always sign off with their name. That's just one little thing. We also bring them to events. So they come to the events and they meet people. They go into sessions. I take them out on networking events. They get to know people one-on-one. We also did we spent a whole day about a month ago filming GIFs, and they are in the GIFs. So when they respond socially to clients, they're going to actually be able to share one of their gifts.
Yeah.
So we're trying to turn our social media into it's not Realtor.com, the corporation or the company. It's Mara on Facebook.
Yeah.
It's Lonnie on Twitter. So people get to know each other. And just a little example, we had someone just a few weeks ago on Twitter with a complaint, and they tweeted out. And was one of Mara's platforms, and she responded with her name, and the person knew her, and like, oh my gosh, Mara. Well, and it totally diffused the entire conversation because all of a sudden this person wasn't yelling at Realtor.com.
Yeah. This
person was yelling at Mara, and they felt like, oh, well, and this is someone that can actually help me. This is someone who cares. This is a person. Yeah. So that's been a huge goal for us this year.
And what results have you seen so far from these strategies?
That's just a little result. We've been doing it. It's part of our bigger F19 goal. We track it through sentiment monthly, and we look at, we track both, neutral, negative, and positive sentiment online and in forums and on social media. And we've seen progress, but we can't attribute 100% of that to what we're doing. So we really have no single measurement to measure what the personalization is doing, but as part of an overall campaign, I think we're seeing strides as far as that overall sentiment goes.
Now, we have a lot of people who, are brokerages, they have tech companies, and they're all trying to probably use social media to grow their business. A lot of people, and you talked about the personalization, and companies usually have a social media presence, but then it's the company speaking, and so you made that move to the personalization. Are there any other things that you've done differently to try and increase engagement and do it differently in 2019 and not be such a corporation?
Yeah, engagement is, of course, our number one KPI for social media. It's our number one goal, and as it should be for organic. If you're talking about paid social, it's a little bit different. You're going after reach and click-throughs and things like that. But for organic, it's 100% engagement, and then the second KPI that we track very closely is reach. And Facebook specifically has made it really difficult to get both. And we've played with our algorithms a lot this year. And one of the things that's coming out is In order to get reach, we can get like the average Facebook reach for a business page in 2017 was 0.16, so less than 1/4%. We're averaging about 2.6 on Realtor Pro and like 4% on Top Producer, which are our two biggest channels. And we feel those are pretty big numbers. But we've seen we've been able to reach posts with engagement levels of 15-16%, but our reach is really low on some of those posts. And then sometimes we'll get reach levels that are out of the books. They're super high, but the engagement, it may only be like 1% on a certain post. And we've really tried to figure out what Facebook is doing and how they're managing that algorithm. And one of the things that research is telling us and a lot of other companies is that it's the type of engagement that matters most. So what you're after are those engaging comments, and we're not talking one-word comments. They have to be engaging. They have to be comments where people are actually creating conversation. And also shares are very important. Simple clicks, simple video views, things like that are not as important as they used to be.
Yep.
So we're really going after content that truly engages our audience and creates conversation. And we do it very differently between Top Producer, which is a CRM, a SaaS product, and Realtor Pro, which is more of our industry-facing brand page. So let's say for Top Producer, one of the biggest ways we've been able to create engagement is through Facebook Live. We do a ton of Facebook Lives, and we do trainings. We bring in like heavy hitters, agents in the field that are using the products successfully, and we have them share secrets. And we talk to the audience and we engage the audience when we do them. That's one of our biggest goals when we do our Facebook Lives is the engagement rate. So we train everybody that comes in on how to talk to the audience and ask questions and get the engagement going right there on the thread. So we've had huge success with that. On Realtor Pro, we do a few Facebook Lives, but we don't have it because we don't do trainings on that page. We don't have as much of an opportunity with Facebook Live, but we share a lot of really quality content that engages. We do a lot of what we call the B2B2C content, which is really content that was created for a consumer, but we share it on our industry B2B facing page, and then they share it out to their audiences. And a lot of that content will also create really good conversation. And the team that manages that, we've become really, really good at just looking at content and understanding what's going to resonate with our audience, what's going to create a conversation.
I hope you guys are listening. Like, I love that you know your numbers, and I love this is super practical and tactical, and you're giving examples and all that stuff. So I hope you guys are catching all this stuff. Now, let's go in the other direction. What have you tried that has not worked?
Oh gosh, let me think about that for a moment. There's a lot of things, but giving a solid example, it's hard. We've struggled with a lot of things. We've had Facebook Lives that don't work. It's hard, and we're doing some Facebook Lives on our B2B channel that in the end may not work. And Facebook has really changed their Facebook tried to become the next YouTube at one point. They tried to become a channel where people would go for long format video. The issue is people don't go to Facebook for long format video, and there's no, they don't have the great search that YouTube does. People go to YouTube for long format video, and YouTube has the searching capabilities and the SEO that Facebook has not been able to harness. So if you're doing what we have decided is we're going to start this because we've had a couple Facebook Lives programs where we want to do like a monthly program where we think they have a lot of potential, and we've tried them and they haven't been successful on Facebook. So we're going to start trying them in the next few months on YouTube, and we're going to start doing the YouTube live shows. I think it's going to take a while for us to get that live audience going. We don't have the following on YouTube at this point that we do on Facebook. We have 400,000 followers on Facebook. YouTube is, I think, maybe 40,000. Might be a lot less than that actually, but it's not near. It might only be 3,000 now that I'm thinking about it, but it's not nearly as many. So we're going to have to really work for that audience. But the great thing with YouTube is once we optimize that content for SEO, it's going to be seen over and over and over again on Facebook, where people go for that longer format content. So I think a lot of companies are dealing with that.
I had the exact same thing.
Yeah.
And I saw it. I said, I'm not doing that again. I said, I'm doing all my long form stuff on YouTube.
Yep. So great minds think alike.
Yeah. Building social media. So you talked about, you have a team and they do all these things. And I think, I know I've experienced trying to hire for social media and build out a team for social media, and there's lots of teams and brokerages and companies who are doing the exact same thing. And I wonder if they experienced what I experienced, which is everyone thinks they're a social media expert if they're under the age of 25. And
no, anyone that uses social media.
Yeah, anyone that uses. I was being generous. What do you look for when you look for someone who's going to be great at social media? Because it's not the same as just being an active social media user. If you're trying to do something for a company, what kind of person, what do you look for when you're hiring?
Oh my gosh, so many things. Creativity, of course, is super important. Good copywriting skills, because being able to write that copy that catches people's eyes and creates engagement. And
when you say these things, how do you test for that?
You can have them write some copy for you before you hire them. Like, give me 3 sample posts, or tell me, just ask those in-depth questions. What do you think causes or creates engagement on Facebook? I think ultimately anybody that you hire can do their research and learn the basics of social media. Something that you might do is bring in, if you have somebody on staff that you think has a lot of potential and would be good, but they don't have a background, bring in a consultant to train them, or send them out to take, there's some really good conventions that go on, like Social Media Marketing World is excellent. And they can learn a lot of conventions, and just get them reading and listening to podcasts and just staying up to date constantly. That's a huge part of my role, because social media changes constantly. And one of the reasons I know my stats is because I just recently did a full report for my company, because it is hard, because we work, especially in the B2B vertical, we work with so many different parts of our company. We work with product, we work with sales, we work with events, we work with PR, and we work with brand marketing, because we support content that comes from all of these different departments, and they all want to send you their content and tell you where they want it and how they want it. And I've been at Realtor.com for 4 years now, so I've learned things have gotten a lot better, because we flow the communication and we get involved much sooner now, so we can say, okay, this campaign's coming up and you're going to want to support it. You're going to want us to support it on these platforms, so here's the different types of content that we're going to need for each of these platforms. So we try to create specific content that's slightly different for each of the different platforms, and we get involved really early in that process.
How about team organization? How big is your team now? When you started, what was the team size? And how did you divide up workload? Do you find it's great to have people do everything and get to move around because it's more fun? Or do you say, you do Twitter, you do Instagram, talk to me about the organization of the team.
So you can do it a couple different ways. And what has worked for my team is I have a team of 3, and they each own their own set of channels. So one of them's not just an expert on Twitter. It's the Realtor Pro brand, or the top producer brand. The gal that runs my top producer brand, her name is Lonnie, and she does the Twitter, the Instagram, all LinkedIn. She does all of them, because she feels like she owns that brand. That's her brand, that's her baby, it's her voice on all of those channels, and her voice is she's a little edgier than the gal that runs Realtor Pro. Realtor Pro is Mara, she runs all of those channels, and she's very just very professional, and she has that kind, understanding, supportive, but very professional voice, and we don't put a lot of edge in there. Whereas Lonnie likes that, she just likes to add a little humor and puts funny gifs in, and she's a lot of fun. So that's kind of how we've done it, and they like it that way because they own their brands, and those are those babies. And they also, we have some automation set up depending on, like when customer service things come in or messages come in through Facebook and Twitter, there's some automation that will send some of these things to customer service directly, but a lot of them they will answer directly. And we like to keep them as involved as possible because they are the face of those channels.
Yeah.
So
in real estate, everyone talks about you have to prospect, you've got to work your database, these are the things, and these are the things that you got to do, and so many people don't do it. Mm-hmm. When it comes to social media, what are the things that you're like, this is a staple, we have to do this every single day, every single week, that you even find people and teams and yourself, like you even sometimes fall off the map, and that you got to keep getting back to that because it's
always.
What is that thing?
And it's hard, especially when we're traveling. I have some of my team here and we're traveling and you can't stop. So a couple of things that you always have to do is consistency. If you look at the studies for Facebook specifically, because it's such a challenge, there is, the algorithm will show you that the highest engagement comes from pages that post 1 to 4 times a day. If you post less than once a day, that means if you miss once a week, your engagement's going to drop immediately. So you have to keep that consistency of posting. You have to get it. I always tell my team, we don't like to schedule too far out because things change so rapidly, and we like to have hot content and stuff that's just fresh off the press, out there. So we try not to post too far ahead. But if there's big events going on or holidays, then we do schedule things. But I think the consistency with the posting once a day, every single day on Facebook has to be there. The other thing is responding to every single comment. There's 2 situations where we won't. One is if they're specifically just tagging a friend, because sometimes people will just tag a friend because they want them to see the post or the article. We don't respond to that. Or if someone simply responds to a post with an emoji, we don't respond to that. But everything else, my team is supposed to respond to, and they do a good job. And the idea, of course, is not just to respond, but to encourage more conversation, try to continue the conversation on with people and build relationships, because that's really what social media is about. We're out there, building trust, changing sentiment, and putting a face.
Now, when you reply, are you replying to the comment, or are you DMing, or do you do both for different situations?
We do both, and we sign off our names in both situations. So they absolutely, the DMs are like, even if a DM is just a smiley face, if it's a direct message, they need to find out, why are you, hi, can I help you? What's going on? And there's actually some automated responses for that. So that is, but yeah, especially on commenting on any of our, whether it's on Facebook or LinkedIn or wherever, they have to respond to every single comment.
What are some technologies and tools that have been such a huge help for you to be more successful with social media? And what stuff are you thinking about the future incorporating?
We've made a lot of progress over the last 4 years that I've been there. We're currently using a tool called Spreadfast, which has a listening component. We also, but it allows us to schedule all of our social media, and it also gives us really deep analytics. We were just talking about it to somebody yesterday, in fact, but we're able to go in and we set up campaigns, we associate keywords, so every time we make a post in there, is this a B2B post or a consumer-facing post? Is this, part of this? All of these multiple tags are applied to every single post, so we're able to go back later and really dig deep into our analytics and see exactly which type of content is working for us and which campaigns worked. So I think in any situation, you have to have that tracking, you have to have that accountability, you have to be able to go back to all of the stakeholders within your company and say, here's what we did to support your campaign, or here's how, here are the stats on this or that. So you have to be able to provide statistics. And we use Spreadfast. I know it's not cheap. There's cheaper platforms out there. I think Sprout Social, I've heard good things about, and even Hootsuite, which can be free, depending on how you use it. But for the best tracking and analytics, you're going to have to pay for those, and those take pretty heavy duty platforms. Like
but if you're a big enough company, it's going to be worth it.
That's right.
All right, so now to kind of wrap up, you were in the brokerage world. You were thinking about the brokerage. You were thinking about the agent and how to do marketing for them. And now you're removed from it and you have a different maybe perspective that you maybe had in the past. So now if you were to go be, chief marketing officer at a brokerage to help that brokerage and the agents inside of it be more successful, what would be some of the things that you would make sure are happening from a marketing perspective?
I would, from marketing or social specific?
So we'll go social.
Well, I think number one, it's I was on a panel at CMO this past week about outsourcing marketing, and I think it's an interesting topic because marketing is so complex these days. And no matter who you are, you're not an expert. You can't be an expert, and you have to go out there and be able to hire or outsource to people who can expertly take on roles like SEO and graphic design and PR, things like that. So I think just having, but what gets difficult with that is keeping the brand consistent when you're outsourcing different things. And so I think that's a big challenge, is learning how and how to manage that outsourcing process.
Now, would you still go try to do it and then just work on doing your best to keep the brand simple? Or is it still too hard to go do that? And so
No, you have to, I think you have to do it because you can't, depending on how big you are, you might be able to hire experts in all of those areas. But in many cases, you can't. If you're Realtor.com, you probably can, but we even outsource things. We outsource copywriting sometimes because sometimes you just don't have a full-time need and you need an expert to fill this niche, or you're working on a specific campaign where you have a need. So you have to be able to outsource at times, but you need to be able to manage that process and watch the brand and the voice that's being used and the messaging super carefully to make sure that everything is consistent with the brand. I think that's the biggest challenge with a lot of marketing. So,
Marci's given tons of value today. This has been really great, so thank you. When you think about your challenges and your needs, and we have this audience of people who might be able to help you out with it, what are they right now? What are the challenges that you have in your role and some of the needs that you have?
My biggest challenge, I would say, is swaying positive sentiment, industry sentiment. Send us love. Follow our Facebook page, RealtorPro, at RealtorPro on Twitter and Instagram, and then Realtor.com Pro on Facebook. So follow us there. Follow me, Marci James, on Facebook, Twitter. Send me a note if you saw this and you liked what I had to say, or if you found value. Send me a little message, let me know. I'd appreciate it.
That's awesome. And if you follow, then you can actually see everything that you talked about in practice.
That's right.
Right? And just follow and just copy, right? Just follow what they're doing and learn from it.
That would be awesome.
Hey, thanks so much for being on the show.
Thank you.
I appreciate it. As always, guys, if you have not subscribed and you want to be successful in real estate, whether you're an agent or a broker or a startup, we have amazing guests just like Marci. So subscribe to the YouTube show and the podcast so you can learn and be great.